Everybody knows who's going to be the number one pick in Burrows, and Burrows was not really working out at the combine.
No, he's going to throw it his pro day.
Yeah, so they measured his hand, which is 9 inches, which is one of the biggest hands in NFL history. I mean, you look at this kid, the kid is built like an ox. The guy's got size, he's got ability, he's a pure pocket quarterback, which a lot of NFL teams love and has loved over the years. But as you know, the quarterback position has completely changed. And now when you look at the quarterback position, you need a mobile quarterback as well. What you saw in a national title game, you saw that he can be. Now, what I learned this weekend was not the fact that Burrows wasn't throwing, that there are other quarterbacks in this coming draft that are actually going to be very good and very talented. Now, I do believe this is not a big quarterback class. You have Herbert, who looked very, very good. A lot of people don't like him as a quarterback, an NFL-style, prototypical NFL quarterback in this league. But he showed everybody that he can make every single throw. He's got an arm that he can throw 60 to 70 yards down the field. You saw it accurately. And the kid can move inside and out of the pocket, which he comes from Oregon. And Oregon is an organization, really a college, that likes to run the ball. They like to use a spread offense. They spread out 4 wide receivers, but they use the quarterback to run. That's what they do. And that's what Herbert is really good at. But what we saw at the combine is the guy can make the throws. He's got a tremendous amount of athletic ability. And the guy can show you glimpses of a superstar quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I think Herbert, the biggest reason that he didn't declare last year when everybody thought he was because he wanted to improve more as a pocket quarterback. He was good on the run before that with the way Oregon's system was, which has a good history with good college quarterbacks that can run. Dennis Dixon, Jeremiah Masoli, obviously Marcus Mariota just recently, and now Herbert. But again, he also has the pocket game too, and he really showed that throughout the season this year. His skill set and, again, his deep accuracy being very good, making a great variety of throws. And he has the speed now to go with it, too. 4.68 he ran, which is very similar to what Josh Allen ran. And not far behind some of the other young quarterbacks that we consider running-type quarterbacks.
And what I also learned is this Utah quarterback that everybody keeps talking about, Love, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't it Jordan Love?
Utah State, yeah.
Yes, Utah State, who everybody keeps talking about this kid moving up in the draft. He looked very, very good at the combine. He's got speed, he's got arm strength, he's got size, he can move inside and out of the pocket. And a lot of people believe that this guy could be a first round, could be a top 15 pick. The way he played at the combine, his combine scores were very, very good. And you see what this kid could absolutely be in the NFL. He could turn out to be the best quarterback in this coming draft. But we talked about this last year with Daniel Jones, and we talked about this about the quarterback class last year. And really the prototypical quarterback, and everybody looks at the prototype quarterback of throwing, pocket presence, and eventually could be the utility type of quarterback that can move inside and out of the pocket. But now when you look at guys like Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, you're not talking about Matt Ryan and Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Peyton Manning anymore. You're talking about these guys that the completely change of quarterback at the quarterback position in the NFL. And you see the greatness of what these quarterbacks could be if they can continue developing as an NFL quarterback. But what I really saw at the combine this year, and we see somebody like really show up at the combine, a guy that you wouldn't expect. Last year, it was the wide receiver from Seattle, Metcalf, who looked unbelievable.
Everyone thought he was going to go top 10, and then he fell all the way to the end of the second round.
End of the second round, and a lot of people were very surprised that he fell to the end of the second round. But
I think the trend is less receivers early the last 2 drafts we've seen. Even somebody, the 2018 draft, somebody like Calvin Ridley, who was supposed to go very early, fell to 26. DJ Moore was the first receiver taken at 24. So maybe it's not prioritized as much as in these spread offenses just because they're just more based on receiving cores rather than one great receiver. Now it'll be interesting to see if that continues again because there's supposed to be really good talent at the top too with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy.
And Jerry Jeudy looked very, very good at the combine. So did Ruggs. He looked unbelievable. It's the fastest wide receiver in this year's combine. I think he ran it in a 4.30.
4.27.
4.27, which is remarkable. This is a guy, if you guys know the story of this kid, it's a fascinating story. This is a kid that was a basketball star in high school. And I don't know if you guys watched it. E60 did a report about him and his friend Rod. And Rod was the guy that told him he would be a five-tool player in the NFL. And I don't know what a five-tool player in the NFL is because that's baseball, but he said that he was going to be a superstar in the NFL if he decided to play college football. And he played the last 2 years of college football in high school because of his friend Rod. He became a superstar, and eventually he had 21 to 27 Division I schools looking for him. And what happened was they were supposed to go to a college basketball tournament. They were supposed to go watch their college team that they both followed. I don't remember what team it was. And they were supposed to drive to the college game. And while this was going on, Ruggs was really, really sick, and he wound up not going on this trip with Rod and his other friend. And what happened was, on their way to the game, Rod lost control of the car, spun out off the side 3 or 4 times, flew out of the car, the back of the car, because he was sitting in the back seat, and flew out 85 feet and was eventually announced brain dead after that, and he lost his friend. And over the years, his friend told him that he should play for Alabama. And the story goes, really, if you read the story and you learn about the story about Ruggs, he had plenty of schools interested in him as a Division I football player, and he decided to go play for Bama because of his friend Rod. And if you watch him, every time he scored a touchdown in Alabama, which I think he had 23 touchdowns in his career in Alabama, he raised up the number 3. And that was Rod's number. And he's been doing this since high school and really throughout college, ever since his friend passed away.
Wow. He's got a story that is going to help him motivate him too. And we see this a good amount with athletes too. Sometimes they get the sport later on and then it becomes their main thing. Steve Nash did that too. He wasn't a basketball player all the time. He was a soccer player, but he used to play basketball to work out and stay in shape. And
now he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer basketball player. But
it's seeing it with Ruggs, depending on how good he is in the league. But now he has definitely a motivation to do this for his friend.
He's been motivated ever since his friend passed away, and his friend passed away 4 or 5 years ago. So this is a kid that has a huge price on his shoulder. And I say price because this guy is going to be a top 10, top 20 pick. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that he proved himself at the combine. He was the fastest wide receiver. I mean, athletically, this guy has a tremendous vertical leap, and he even benched a lot for a guy his size as well. So he looked really, really good at the combine. There was also a defensive end that looked really, really good. I think he ran the 40 in a 4.47, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
Well, Isaiah Simmons is a linebacker. He ran 4.39.
4.39, yes.
Yes, and he's this very unique prospect that he could play linebacker in both spots. He could play safety. He could play slot corner. He's a defensive prospect that we've never seen anything like before. So that's going to be very interesting. In terms of the defensive lineman, the fastest was a 4.6. Ran by James Smith-Williams.
Oh, it was a 4.6?
For the best defensive line time.
Then it was probably the linebacker I'm talking about.
Yeah, Simmons, right.
He ran in at a 4.39.
He's supposed to be definitely a top 10 pick and maybe even now a top 5 pick because of the combine he put on. Because there's not many defensive players like him. And this league now with the analytics now and the data that
Which I absolutely hate.
It values versatility, though. And somebody like Isaiah Simmons is definitely more valuable because of that. He's very good at all those positions. He's best as a middle linebacker, but he's very good at all those positions in a speed game with that much speed. Can run like a corner, can run like a receiver, obviously, and can also be a tackler like a linebacker. So that's really valuable on a lot of levels.
And also, watching at the Combine this year, more than I have ever in my NFL years of watching the Combine, and I've watched it for the last, I think everybody's watched it for the last, 15, 20 years that it's been out. And the Combine really started, I think it was 20 years ago, the Combine started. And the NFL made it a really extravaganza. It's not, It's no longer something that you just decide to put on. It's everybody is watching it, and millions of people are watching the next big superstars come out of the draft. And
like any
hopefully
sport,
we
they're
see a
trying
lot
to
of
hype
them.
up young players. That's what they do.
I understand that, and they're trying to sell it. That's what all these sports organizations are trying to do. They're trying to make more money. And if these guys become superstars, or you watch them at the combine, it's like, wow, that guy's going to be he's going to be some player in the NFL. Well, guess what they're going to do? These players, these teams are going to be looking at them, and some of the fans are going to be liking these guys and saying, you know what, I want you to draft this guy, or and that's what's great about sports is. There's not just one fan out there that are going to want to see these players play and practice and go out there at the combine and show off their skills. There are tons and tons of fans out there that know college players, that follow college players, and they watch them all season long because they hope that their team is going to draft them. Now, who was the most impressive guy that you watched over the weekend? Besides the linebackers.
I think that was my answer if you didn't say that.
There was a couple of linebackers that were very fun to watch.
I'll also say CeeDee Lamb, too. I think he was very impressive because what we saw of him at Oklahoma, he was more of that speed and run after the catch type receiver, but also could be a deep threat. Now he proved he could also be a guy that can jump, a guy that can make tough catches, a guy that with some physicality at the line of scrimmage. For a speed guy, he's got good height, 6'2" as well. Normally you see those receivers smaller, and I think he really showed a lot with the complicated routes, and he's not going to be just a run after the catch speed type guy too. He's a full package type receiver where he might not be far behind Jeudy in terms of an overall production level and skill set.
And to me, when I watch the combine, and I love the NFL when it comes to them trying to promote not only the players, but they like to promote the guys that are actually talking on TV. You got Kurt Warner, you got all of them. Steve Smith was there. They were all there. Every single Michael Irvin was there. Mm-hmm. They were all over there, and they're talking about their skills and comparing their skills to the NFL player now, which is not even comparable. When you talk about Michael Irvin, he ran a 40 in like 4.6 or 4.5.
That was probably fast for that time.
Yeah, and now you have guys, they're wide receivers that are running him in 4.30 and 4.27 and 4.25.
Yeah, 4.6 was the top time for a defensive lineman now.
It's remarkable.
It's a different game now.
It's remarkable. Could you imagine if Ruggs played in the time Michael Irvin played? I mean, look at the speed of this kid and what this kid could be in that time. Obviously, the defensive players were completely different, and the defensive rules were completely different. When you look at the corners,
yeah, you wonder if a smaller receiver would be able to handle the physicality at that time.
And the corners can actually grab onto the jersey, grab onto your arm, grab onto your neck. Horse collar you. You can't do that anymore in the NFL. The NFL has too many different rules that have changed the game. Astronomical. And that's my word. I always use astronomically because the game has completely, all the games, hockey has changed. Basketball has changed. Football has changed. Baseball is even changing right now. They're not going to have umpires anymore. They're going to have robots calling the strikes. I mean, that's the game, and that's the way the league is completely transitioned. And I think it's interesting because now you're looking at the combine, you're looking at these players, and how do you compare these players to the old players, to the Michael Irvins, to the Jerry Rices, to the Tom Bradys, the Peyton Mannings, and all the quarterbacks that we've seen over the years? You can't compare them because the league has completely changed. So that, I think, has been the thing that I looked at over the last couple of years, especially at the combine, and I watched bits and pieces of the combine this year, it's always fun to watch because you get to watch it. How about the punter benching 27 times?
Yeah, that was something.
I mean, a punter benched 225 27 times. Yeah. How many times do you see a punter bench 225 27 times without stopping?
It's going to be the new Steve Weatherford.
I mean, it's incredible. Steve Weatherford didn't do that.
No, but he didn't. But he was quite a tackler, though, for a punter.
I mean, he's a lot bigger now because he's probably on steroids. No offense, Steve, but I mean, look at the size of this guy. If you ever look at the video,
I've seen it on Twitter.
It's remarkable what this guy he looks like now. He's built. He really looks like an Olympian. That's what he looks like. It's unbelievable.
He looks like a javelin thrower.
He really does. Right. It's incredible, but I think the game has changed. I mean, the league, the training has changed. And look at, we've talked about this all. Adrian Peterson, he tore his ACL. He was back playing NFL football in 8 months when it usually takes over a year.
That was the best recovery season, comeback season I've ever seen.